All right, so I'm bored today. Let's watch some Eric July. This is a clip from Eric July from Katie Did Clips. Shout out to Katie Did for doing this. This is a good one. Almost 15 minutes. No ads. I got to take a break from ads. Can't do it. The title of this is what drew me in. Watched a little bit of it, and I was like, all right, we're going to do this one. It's titled The Rifle, Clip-A-Verse, Drama, ISA Ministries, and Solid Lawyers. This should be a good one. So if you're sitting down with your food, you're doing lunch, you're doing dinner, you're playing a game, and I'm on in the background, this is the perfect time for that. If you're not doing that, pause the video, fire up a game, make yourself something to eat, and sit down. Let's make fun of Eric July. I pitched it up a little bit. Here we go.
I think that's why it's important for, we do the meetups when we also do the stuff like the comic conventions. And this is why I continue to say, and nothing's changed. There was a little goofiness that may have happened outside of one of our recent events.
Stop, don't be a coward. Don't be you can say what it is. You can say what it is without even naming Riley. You could say, with this situation where somebody was outside making fun of us at Boozy Bird, or you could just say the Boozy Bird situation. You keep using this goofy stuff and you keep talking sideways about everything. You act as if everything is an NDA. It's really weird because you were so concerned about saying the wrong thing that you would just rather be vague. You would rather vague book it. You have these friends on Facebook that post shit and they're like, oh, I hate when people do this to me. And you never say who it is. They don't tag anybody. I hate that stuff. I hate it. We all know what it is. Everybody watching your show knows what it is. Because you are invested in this drama. You are invested in it. You keep saying you're not, but you are. You've talked about, you made that video, you're like, I'm never going to speak on it again. And you've talked about it every day. You brought it up almost every day since you made that statement.
But the offer is still there. And it's less of an offer and more of what I suggest that you do. Even if you don't like us, perhaps come to an event and find out yourself that maybe there is a total misunderstanding and you will find that we're just not that bad people.
You could show up to an event and get arrested. That's why that was a bad look. I mean, just in general, regardless of who was right and who was wrong, the optics of that is just really, really, really bad. Because if you look at it outside of just the bubble of people who really know all of the history behind it, someone who was handing out ISOM comic books in front of your event, asking people what their favorite part of ISOM was, dressed up as a superhero, was arrested. And you refuse to be honest about every detail. And then you talk sideways about it. Just the optics for that look really bad, regardless of how this all plays out when it's all said and done here. That's just the reality of it.
People, we're okay. And I think that's the importance of cut out all the internet stuff, all the everything for views and streams and clicks and narratives that often are fake. Come meet up.
That's really interesting because and I'm sure you're going to go into it in this video. It's a long video. We will get to you moving differently, I'm pretty sure, in this video somewhere. But I will say it's kind of weird when anyone, if it were me or anybody who does YouTube at a level, especially you, because you have 500 million subscribers, but anybody that does YouTube at a level of that magnitude to say, oh, well, get out of this internet space and blah, 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 whatever. Man, let's be real. You're selling merch. All of this stuff, even your comic books, all of it is directly connected to your existence on YouTube. And you may not want to admit that because you want to seem hyper legitimate, like super legitimate outside of the YouTube space. But you cannot walk away from YouTube because realistically, that this is a place where you sell your merch at. You are peddling merch, by YouTube, basically by proxy on YouTube. That's what you're doing. But you've disguised it as if it's this company that's going to succeed outside of YouTube. I maybe that's going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. And I'd be okay with that. But I don't see the existence of what your comic book company is outside of a connection to YouTube, because all the people that I know that's using Ripa's N now are also people on YouTube. So I don't see that connection being or disconnection of that being as clear as you do. It just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like it's connected together intrinsically, and there's no way to disconnect those things. But you have this belief that you can do that. If you could, then I would suggest you separate yourself from YouTube even more, because it's obviously the drama coming to your comic book company is from YouTube. So maybe you should probably separate from YouTube.
And have a discussion and air your grievances even. And I'm willing to bet that you will come out of that conversation and you will say, man, these guys aren't that bad. 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser with a chance. It's very ironic that many of the comic sphere run with misleading headlines. A real fan would have learned from J. Jonah Jameson.
Let me tell you why that wouldn't be the case for me, because I don't care necessarily about the comic book business. I don't. Like, my issues with Eric July and what he does online was and you know, social media in general is beyond like the comic book shit. Like, if he were just making comic books, I don't think I'd be that interested in it, to be completely honest. I probably wouldn't even pay any attention to it. My issues with Eric, and I've been saying this for a long time, is the way he sells his merchandise on YouTube. Everything he does when he talks about like anti-gay this, or you know, any sort of marginalized community becomes a target of Eric. It is a platform for his merch. His merch is plastered behind him on the walls. It's being sold at the end of every one of his videos. It's in the descriptions of his videos, probably tagged in his videos. So he is selling merch based on all of that negative talk, all of the hateful stuff that he says. So that's what I mean when I said it's intrinsically connected. Like, he is selling his merchandise to people who are coming to him to listen to that kind of stuff, which is why his whole concept of our comic books are for everybody. Anybody can come and read our comic books. It's just bullshit. It's bullshit, because anybody who is buying your comic books is aware of your internet presence. And if they are, they're going to know that a lot of the things that you talk about, a lot of the things that you supposedly stand for, are against them. And they're not going to buy your merchandise. You would sell more merch if you truly wanted to like go out and sell to everyone. You would stop making the kinds of videos you make when you're hanging out with Az. That's just the reality of it. Like, I will never, ever buy anything from the Rippaverse. You could add 20,000 Saska sisters and a bunch of gay people. I would still never buy anything from the Rippaverse because it's connected to Eric July. And Eric July does not have any problems with saying the stuff he says about gay people and trans people. So I would never buy anything from him. And maybe he's okay with that. He probably is. I'm just one person. But there's a lot of people that probably feel like me that won't buy from him. And it might be for different reasons. But the thing is that it's always connected to the stuff he does on YouTube, because that's what he is. He's a YouTuber. And he says this like it's a dirty word. I'm not a YouTuber. I own a business. Yeah, but you're also a YouTuber. Those two things can exist. They can be parallel to each other. They can walk hand in hand.
This is antics and Spidey Comics to look past the headlines and seek out the details. It's a good point.
So why don't you do that? Look past the headlines and see the details. I mean, you and Az both do headline outrage bait all the time. Like, literally take some of that guy's advice and apply it to yourself. And the fact that he's a fan of yours and he's saying that tells me there's cognitive dissonance there. So, but I mean, that's pretty much part of the course for the people that watch your content.
Listen. Yeah, it's always remarkable. See it all the time. It's like, he said this. It was like as an example. Again, not gonna get too much into it, but it was like the whole pull up thing, right? It's funny watching people say, well, he was talking specifically to this person. If that's the defense y'all want to run with, especially with what's been uncovered this last week, go right ahead. But I'm just being honest with you. You guys do understand that the streams are still there and they're fully there in context, and basic research will show that was from a stream that was over a year ago. Had nothing to do with any of that. But how does it get shared? Here's the caption. Eric was saying X. He was saying this, even though in the same stream he said this. He was saying, they're not gonna include that content.
So you're saying that taking things from over a year ago out of context to apply to things that are happening right now, it's something that you don't condone, right? Well, what happened to that energy when you're talking about Charmine in Star Wars? We're talking about her, or any of these other people, where you'll go back and you'll look at a video from over a year ago, sometimes half a decade ago, and then you'll try to apply that to what they're doing right now. There's a thing called a double standard and hypocrisy. And this is sort of the world that a lot of you guys live in, that you like, especially you, now that you're running this merch shop, this merch warehouse with comic books, now that you're on the other side of this and you have people criticizing you for ridiculous things in your mind, you're like, this is ridiculous. Why would they do that? Why would they pull clips out of context? It's one of those things where you like live by the sword, die by the sword situation. You reap what you sow, right? Everybody's heard that before. You have cultivated that sort of environment because you do it to other people. You and Az both do it to other people. So now when time comes and it's time to pay your due and people are doing it to you, all of a sudden there's something unethical about that. Oh, they're just taking things out of context. That was from a year ago. What does that have to do with what's happening right now? It's funny how that works, right? It's real interesting how that works.
It's like he was saying this. Listen here. And it's like, guys, what are you doing?
And the thing is, Eric could be telling completely. He could be completely honest in this and say, that's not what I meant when I said that. I'm not going to try and figure that out. I'm not going to go back and watch those fucking streams to figure that out. So he could be completely honest in this conversation, which based on Eric's track record, I'm giving him a lot of concession, right? But even if he's being completely honest in this moment and saying this, none of that matters because he has trained his viewers to do this very thing. So anyone that has turned on Eric, people that were fans of Eric and the Rippaverse, and trust me, I know there are a lot of them out there that used to support Eric that no longer support him. I've streamed with them. I've chatted with them. I've had them on my show before. So I know that there's people out there that feel that way. You have taught your viewers that is fair game. You have made them believe that kind of out of context stuff is fair game. So when they start to use it against you, even if you're being honest here and saying that's not what you meant, to them, that doesn't matter. So you set the stage for that.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
But I think that's kind of more or less what ends up happening, and I think everybody can do a better job of that. It's like it's very easy to run with it,
including you. You could do a better job than that. I mean, I've seen recently you have gone after T. Franklin. You've tried to go after her, taking everything that she does and trying to apply it to her career in comic books. Stuff that she's doing that has nothing to do with comic books. You're trying to apply it to that. But here you're asking people to take nuance into consideration, take context into consideration. You just don't do that. You could learn. You could do better.
Things that confirmation bias. That's the old saying, or old term for it.
It's not an old term. People still use it today. I use it quite often. Confirmation bias is what drives your channels. It's what drives your content. Your content is really sort of orchestrated in a way to confirm bias because the Fellowship, Geeks and Gamers, all of the channels that sort of push out the same type of stuff daily, regularly, you do it to confirm bias. It's a narrative. It's a script, basically. All of you are saying the same things with a different accent. Is essentially what it is. Confirmation bias is what drives your channel. It's really weird that you're saying that like it's like, oh, nobody thinks about that. Like literally that's what pushes your content.
It's you have a tendency to run with things that confirm your preconceived notions,
right,
no matter how false they are.
Yeah. I mean, literally, that's the kind of content that you make, Eric. That's all right.
Warren with a 5 said, Eric, you should make a t-shirt or poster of the tractors moving goalposts, and I saw him throwing a football.
Okay, well, that would require him to once again be connected to the internet. If his business is something he's moving differently, he doesn't want to connect to the internet in any way, he just wants to sell his comic books, then those two things don't need to exist in his merch shop. If they do exist in his merch shop, like the 3D asset shirt, what's your favorite part of ISOM? Those things exist to feed the outrage of the internet, which is what he started out in this clip saying that people shouldn't be doing. So let's see what his response to this is.
Way past it.
Nothing. Just laugh. Okay.
Roblox head Leslie Headland fucking head. Ripper, no need to explain that you're handling grown man business. Us adults understand. By the way, Jeremy is gay and Ryan loves black people. Yeah, I can confirm. But
I'm not sure if that was supposed to be ironic or what that was, but you make a comment about grown people stuff and then you make like immature jokes. Is that the... Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what that was, but there's no need.
For sure. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've accepted that. I don't think people will ever get used to it. Well, some people won't. Many will, but other people won't. It'll be a buffer because Eric July became a professional, and Eric July no longer is streaming and every day and spending so much time and going back and forth with people. Like, he's not doing that anymore. So
no, but you're advocating other people to do it. There's no difference in that. You're doing it by proxy. For example, if I say I'm not going to fight with people on the internet, but then I echo and platform and shout out people that are doing it, then you are still actively participating in it. You're just doing it through somebody else. And it's different from like a fan. Like if you had a bunch of fans doing it and you were not retweeting them, you weren't commenting under their post, you weren't like, if you were completely like just not engaging with it at all, I would say, well, you're right. Maybe you are doing something different, but you're not, bro. You're not. You are actively fighting with people through other people, which is some coward shit. Either you're disconnected or you're not. That in between shit doesn't work, man. Like it's literally like you are standing behind the people who are doing the kicking and punching and you're cheering them on and you're giving them the means to do it. And they're all doing it in your name. That's wild. That is wild. That's some wild shit. I could not imagine people that watch my content going out and attacking people and saying things about them, especially like the Kino Casino guys, the kind of stuff they're putting out, like those kinds of guys. I can't imagine trying to platform them through your channel or whatever, your social media, trying to platform them because you are so spiteful against people that don't like you that you're willing to overlook some of the dumb and horrible shit that they've said to give them a boost. That's a big L. That's a big L, Eric. For somebody who's saying like, I'm not going to get in this anymore, you are literally still in it. You might not be like waist deep in it, but you're knee deep in it. You're knee deep in it.
Oh, I think some people will take exception to that and they won't like it.
You keep saying that like people, like the only people who want you to do that are the people that support you. You have to understand that, right? Like people that don't like you would love for you to just shut the fuck up about this stuff and not talk about it and just be clowned. Just be a clown for them. That's what they want you to do, right? That's what they would want you to do. The only people who would want you to actively fight back and engage are the fans of your channel.
That said, oh well. I operate for my fans. It was someone that...
Well, if you operate for your fans, you'd be fighting back because that's what they want. They want monetize your haters back. They want that to come back. They want you to do that. I can tell you right now, I know this 100%. If Eric were to monetize a hater, whether it be Vito, Dick, someone else that's been criticizing him on social media, if he were to make a video, monetize your haters for those guys, it would break 100,000 views. I'm calling it right now. It would break 100,000 views because the people that watch your channel, that is the shit they want. That's what they want to see. So if you only care about your fans, you would still be doing that. The reason why you're seeing this massive discrepancy in your YouTube content versus what you had before, we all see it. Let's not play games. The monetize your hater stuff was extremely popular on your channel. And that's what your fans want. A lot of the people that watch you don't give a fuck about your comic books. To them, it's all just merch. It's just like selling t-shirts, tennis shoes, hoodies to them. They want to see your YouTube shit. Like, this is why you're seeing a lot of the people that like you just sort of back away because you keep saying you're doing shit for the fans, but you're not. You're doing it for Eric. You're doing it for Eric July. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But say that. Don't say it's for the fans.
Brought this up over the past couple of weeks, and the gentleman was like, "Yeah, you should go do this." And it was essentially I should basically go back to re-engaging with my the people that aren't fond of me. What you call them, I don't care. And I'm like, guys, you got to understand, like,
just call it what it was. Monetize your haters, bro. Like, just call it that. What you call it, I don't care. You called them detractors and haters, weirdos. Those were your words. You still say it now. I don't know why you didn't say it just in this moment. That's fucking weird.
That's not a good use of my time, especially when I don't think I'm going to be able to convince these guys anyway, unless they come to actually meet us at an appropriate setting and actually talk with us like adults, in a cordial manner. It's not a good use of my time. I don't need that content. Like that's I think the biggest thing, right? I don't need that.
Well, you don't think you need that content because you want to believe that you are not a YouTuber. That is your view of who you are as a person. And if you want to believe that fantasy, if that's what you want to believe, I'm not going to try and break that fantasy, that illusion in your mind that you're not a YouTuber. However, you have a YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel is probably the biggest thing pushing the fantasy thing that you've got going on. And you want that to be successful. You got to learn and you've got to realize as a businessman that in order for the monster to be fed, there has to be food. YouTube is the food for the monster. That monster will go hungry. It will starve without YouTube. And there's a lot of people waiting to see you fail. Again, I don't care if your comic book company survives or not. I don't care. My issues with you have nothing to do with the comic books. But there's a lot of people that want to see you fail. And if you do not recognize, and I'm giving you some credit here, I think you're smart enough to know, maybe I'm wrong, if you do not recognize that this YouTube shit is a funnel of food to your monster, to your fantasy world of this warehouse comic book business, maybe I'm giving you too much credit. I don't know, but this is wild.
That's not necessary for me. I don't need that content. Like, yeah, sure. If it's like, oh, I was desperate for clicks in YouTube videos, like views, perhaps that would make sense, but that's not part of my business. Business. It's not part of my business schedule anymore. Like, or plan.
So YouTube is not considered part of his business. This is really interesting. I'm going to try and decipher this. I'm going to try and decipher this for everybody. So if you're someone that supports Eric's YouTube channel, however you do it, whether you click on every video, whether you super chat him, whether you super thank him, super sticker, part of his membership or whatever, he doesn't consider this to be a part of his business. He's not a YouTuber. So I don't know what you think you're funding with his YouTube channel. I'm not sure what it's funding. If this is not part of his business, if YouTube is not actively part of his business, then why are you monetized? Why are you charging people for things on YouTube? If this isn't part of what you consider your business, at least in some capacity, then why are you promoting your shit on it? Why are your comic book things all over your fucking walls? Why do you have banners and frames and overlays and stuff like that with your comic book character? Why does all that exist if YouTube is not part of your business? That doesn't make any fucking sense, Eric. It just doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. You're telling the people that are watching your video right now that, guess what? I'm doing all this, but I don't care. YouTube doesn't matter to me. It's not part of my business. All while there are people super chatting you and sending you money. And the fact that they're hearing you say that and they're still sending you money, what the fuck is going on? Just doesn't. Some people do YouTube for fun, but at the same time, they're still thankful for the support of people on YouTube. You're actively using YouTube as a promotional tool for your comic books, for your merch. And it's not part of your business? Anybody else? Anyone? How does that make any fucking sense?
Man, that's not how I operate. Like, this is more of a vehicle to get stuff out now on my YouTube and occasionally talk about various things that I want to talk about that may not have to do with the Rippaverse. But
so it is part of your business. So it is. See what I mean with him talking sideways and stuff? You said it's not part of your business, but now you're saying it's a way for you to get your stuff out there, which would mean it is in fact an advertising aspect of your business. Advertising is part of business. So it is part of your business. That is what you're doing. And as far as like occasionally make videos, I'm going to, while we're sitting here, I'm not going to close this window. I'm going to go look though. I want to go see how many videos you put out in the last, I don't know, 9 days, 10 days, whatever it is. How many videos you put out that are specifically not related to the Rippaverse? Because you're saying that occasionally you make videos that are not related to your business, right? So 13 out of 15 videos were not related to the Rippaverse in the last 10 days. Seems to me like it's more than just occasionally using it for something other than promoting your comic books or whatever. But it's still part of your business, even though you just said it wasn't. That doesn't make any sense, Eric. It's either ignorance or a lie. I don't know which one it is.
But it's not a core aspect of my revenue stream anymore. So I don't need that. I don't need to make that type of content. When you need to make that, yeah, it's attractive. It's attractive to get on stream and stream for hours at a time about doing whatever. But I got a bit.
So that's a dig at everybody. That's a dig at so pay attention. Anybody who is associated with Eric July, Gary, Jeremy, any of these other folks, if you're associated with Eric July, he does not consider what you're doing to be at the caliber of what he's doing. Right? You get on stream for hours and hours and talk about stuff, talk about people. That's a dig at all of them. Because he's better than that now. Eric July is better than that. He just gets on stream with Az and talk shit every week. It makes a dozen clips out of it. But all you other folks that do it, you're not on the same level as Eric July. Just so you know, all of you.
This is the run. And you kind of have to understand it or not. My dedication is to my employees and my customers. That's who my dedication is to.
Okay, so do you not consider your YouTube fans your customers? Do you think they're two separate groups of people? Do you like Eric thinks that like we have Rippaverse customers and we have YouTube fans? I find that hard to believe. Like he doesn't realize that there's this crossover, massive crossover with people buying the Rippaverse stuff and people who are watching his YouTube content. I would say I don't have a citation for this. This is just me putting it out there. But I would not be surprised to find out that all of the Rippaverse customers are connected to Eric's YouTube channel, and the remainder of people that watch his channel are people that just don't want to buy comic books. I could be wrong, but I'd be very interested to see if that's the case.
So if it doesn't benefit that or them, what am I doing? I have no reason to do it. It's a colossal waste of time.
Okay, so this is, what is this? June 20th of this year. If by any chance, at some point, Eric goes back to doing like angry videos about people that don't like him, the monetize your hater stuff. If he ever goes back to that, just know that he has admitted here that he would only do that if he has to. I would say that that would be a big red flag. If we saw Eric go back to monetize your haters after saying this, just be aware there's probably not good things happening over at the warehouse financially.
Now, that was a very interesting thing. But I guess that's what happens when you're chronically unhappy. Beetle Johnson with a 5 says, Rippaverse Studio, BKL snapback hat with a Chrome logo. Take my money. I didn't know that. Dan, shout out, if you go look at the Kino.
Okay, so he immediately, this is interesting. If that wasn't chopped, and I don't think it was, he's talking about the Kino Casino stuff, and then somebody, I guess, sends a super chat saying that they would love to give him money for merch, like a Rippaverse hat. And he doesn't even really consider it. He just kind of goes, okay. And then immediately goes back to talking about drama. But he doesn't need it, right?
Casino, they did a video talking about that whole deal. If you want to see that stuff, you can go see it. But I believe that stream is still live, and it's bizarre. Like I said, man, I'm not going to go into I can't. I quite literally cannot go into it. It would be ill-advised. But another thing that's ill-advised, guys, if you're going to And I don't care how you.
Well, here's the thing. Like, why are you still talking about it then? If it's something you can't discuss because of some legal reason or whatever, why are you still talking about it? Why are you even trying to bring attention to it? That's baffling to me. I don't know. You made that video and you're like, I'm never going to talk about it again. And you're still talking about it here in this video. So that's a little strange.
Feel about the government. But what I would not advise that you do is, if you are going to do things that will get you potentially arrested, don't record yourself.
Is that the advice you're running with? Are you going to follow that up with another bit of advice, which is, I don't know, maybe don't do it at all? So Eric's advice to people who are breaking the law is, he's not telling them not to do it. He's just like, don't record yourself doing it. That's real interesting. Why would you tell people to not record themselves doing it instead of just saying, I don't know, how about you don't break the law? Maybe he's going to follow up with that. I don't know.
And don't tweet and don't. That's advice that can apply to anybody. It's just not a good idea.
That's interesting. So he didn't follow up with that. He just was like, if you're going to do something illegal, don't record it and don't post it on social media. I don't really have to say much about that. That's kind of sus. My advice would be, look, this is my advice. Don't do anything illegal.
You should not do that. It's just don't do that. It's just not a smart thing.
Right. You should do it and then not film it and not post it. That's what Eric's saying. So the other side of that is, you can do things that are illegal, just don't record yourself doing it. That's the flip side. That's the alternate side of that, in case you're not paying attention.
It is ill-advised. And
man, you just love that term, ill-advised. You say it way too much.
Just please understand that. And I brought this earlier. Now, again, this is not something that's unique to anybody's given scenario. This is regardless.
Well, no, if you're talking about like not recording stuff and posting it on social media, it absolutely is unique. It is unique. It's very specific, actually. You have a person that you are aware of, there's a warrant out for that person because of some altercation that happened at your warehouse, outside of your warehouse, that went on social media and filmed themselves doing stuff and tweeted out stuff and things like that, all the things you just talked about. So unless there's another person that you know, like personally, or have had engaged with in some way that has done those things other than Riley, which I don't think anyone has, then it is a very unique, specific situation. Again, talking sideways about something when you could just say it straightforward. There's no reason to lie or, like, I guess, pussyfoot around with this. There's no reason for that. There's no reason. This is public knowledge. It's why,
especially when it comes to like legal matters, doesn't matter whether civil or criminal, the internet is not going to save you. Okay. It will be used against you for sure. 1000%. But the whole like tactic of trying to rely on like being hyped up and gassed up by the opinion of very not knowledgeable people on the internet and thinking that that's how it's going to play out in the real world is not anything that I would advise that you tend to.
So how did you succeed then? Let's be clear here. How did you succeed? Because that's literally your fan base, man. Like, if you paid attention to the people that support you, they're not very smart people. There's a few of them that are actually really stupid. They gassed you up, they hyped you up, and that's how you started your business. So you're once again giving bad advice for people on YouTube. You're giving bad advice to people. If you were to have listened to your advice now, like rewind the clock, 5 years, and you would listen to what you're saying now, the the Eric July from 5 years ago would be like, well, maybe I shouldn't start a business because it doesn't make sense to start a business based on hype and being gassed up by the internet. That would be your take on it, because you don't want to listen to that, according to you. But that's how you built your business, was hype and gas online. So are you saying that was a bad thing now?
I say this as a person with, I think a lot of people think I have a lawyer. Guys, I have a stable of lawyers. And the bigger that you get, the more that's appropriate, because any lawyer will tell you they don't have a level of expertise in everything. They don't practice in everything.
You mean to tell me there's different types of lawyers for different things? I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. Continue.
Contract lawyer. I have a lawyer that deals with the IP the side of things. My actual general business lawyer, so how things are generally set up with the business, as well as a contract, like an actual contract lawyer that's actually crafting a lot of our contracts. In addition to,
wait, didn't you already say? Hold on, I think you already said contract lawyer.
Like an actual contract lawyer that's actually expertise in everything. They don't practice in everything. I have a contract lawyer. I have a lawyer that deals.
So you have a contract lawyer. The first one you said.
With the IP. The side
IP
of
lawyer,
things, my actual general business lawyer, so how things are generally set up with the business, as well as a contract, like an actual contract lawyer that's actually correct.
All right, so you have you have a contract lawyer, and then you have an actual contract. So the first one that you mentioned wasn't an actual contract lawyer. There's the fake contract lawyer at the beginning of your statement, and then there's the real one that you're talking about now. Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's continue.
Crafting a lot of our contracts, in addition to ones that have that apply that when there's criminal stuff involved, and to make sure.
So you have contract lawyers that are also criminal lawyers. So now you have a fake contract lawyer. You have an IP lawyer. You have a general business lawyer. Then you have another contract lawyer, or an actual contract lawyer who actually does contracts, but also deals with the criminal stuff. This is all intriguing. Let's continue.
And a lot of that's CYA. That's kind of how you have to be. You guys saw, as of recent, there's no news that, I'm not telling you news. There was a recent thing that happened that involved myself legally, right? And the reason why we got out of that situation unscathed is because I have a team of lawyers that made sure everything is taken care of. Therefore, we would get out unscathed. If I didn't do that, well, I probably could have lost a lot of money in the business in general. But
okay, so he's talking about the stuff with the the ministry. I don't know why he can't just say that. Even if he can't talk about the details of it, the actual case is public. So he should have no problem saying the ISA ministry. I don't know why he can't say that. Regardless, here, it's really interesting because the statements he's making now makes it seem like if he didn't have lawyers to watch out for what he did, he would have been in trouble legally. Let's rewind that a little bit. It sounds to me like he's saying without the lawyers helping him, he would have lost his business. That's really interesting. That's a really interesting framing of this. Let's go back a little bit.
And the reason why we got out of that situation unscathed is because
the only reason why is what he's saying here. That is the reason why.
Because I have a team of lawyers that made sure everything is taken care of. Therefore, we would get out unscathed. If I didn't do that, well, I probably could have lost a lot of money in the business in general. But
so he's confirming that whatever happened, because he's not saying what it was, like we don't know the details of what went on with the negotiations. But he's saying if he did not have lawyers to take care of this, he would have lost his business and a lot of money. Now, that could be anything, like he just doesn't know what he's doing and he made some mistakes and the lawyers were able to smooth things over with the ministry and they're all good now. That could be what he's saying. Or he knew full well that what he was doing was wrong and the lawyers had to use a lot of legalese and all kinds of loopholes and stuff like that to get him out of trouble. You can take it either way, but it sounds to me like it was either ignorance of the trademark or it was some sort of like he knew it, but it wasn't malicious. And that's how they got out of it. I mean, I'm just going with what he said here. That's what he said. He didn't say I didn't do anything wrong. He didn't say that here. He said that without the lawyers, he could have lost a lot of money and his business. That is what he said. Makes you think.
But the reason that doesn't happen is because we did our due diligence. So that's why it's so important. Like someone asked in the chat, can you still use the ISOM IP without paying? Well, it's ours. Why would I need to pay to use our stuff?
That's not an answer. That's not an answer, Eric. That is a deflection from the answer. That is answering a question with a question. The answer to that, if it were no, would be no. Or you would say, we have the ability to put out one more book or something along those lines. Because even if you could not talk about the details of what the negotiations were, like specifics, people are going to realize when ISOM 3 comes out, whether it's an individual, graphic novel or it's part of like a 3-part omnibus or something like that, however that comes out, people are going to know, or they're going to be able to figure out what happened based on that release. So when that person asks you that question, the answer is yes or no. By answering that with another question is a deflection, because that person's response to you is never, you're not going to read that out. You're asking them a question, a rhetorical question, basically, by saying, why would we have to? Why would I have to? It's our character. That is not an answer to the question.
Well, it's ours. Why would I need to pay to use our stuff? And again, the reason why stuff like that happens is because, well, we did our due diligence, or they did their due diligence, and that's why it's important to have guys that.
Is it we or they? Is it we or they? If it's we, if we did our due diligence, then that would tell me that Eric probably knew about this beforehand and made sure that he didn't make any mistakes. If it's they, that means that Eric was negligent and they had to fix things. So is it we or they? That changes it.
Actually know what they're doing involved. We got out of that unscathed. Both parties obviously were walking. It's not a secret. Everybody left. We operated in good faith. Everybody left that situation. And we just promised to stay in each other's lanes.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Let me tell you why I don't believe that. I'm going to give you my reason for it. Now, I don't have any proof of this. This is just me saying, me speculating. I make that very clear. If I own something, if I have a trademark or copyright or something like that, and I own it, and then somebody else comes along and they start using something that I own, right? A brand recognition, something like that, start using it in a way that either pulls eyes away from my business or makes my business look bad in any way whatsoever, and I take them to court. We don't go and spend time in court like that for that length of time. For, I think it was like half a year. It went back and forth for months. You don't spend that amount of time dealing with this and just go, oh, our bad, just stay in your lane. Our bad. Not on a settlement like that. No. In that situation, if their lawyers, unless they're incompetent, which I highly doubt they are, unless the ministry's lawyers are incompetent and they did not do their research, they would not have filed the lawsuit if they did not believe that what they were doing was right. They just wouldn't. I don't believe that. We're talking about a massive company. I don't believe that. So they came after the comic name, the title of the comic, ISOM name, because they believed what they were doing was going after somebody affecting their business. You mean to tell me that you guys sat down at the table and you shook hands and were like, all right, we're just going to stay in each other's lane? No, that doesn't make any sense. Now, I'm not saying that you have to pay them money. I'm not saying that you owe them anything. Maybe you agreed that I'm going to put out one more comic and that's it. We're going to wrap it up. And they said, okay, good. We're good. No more merch, no more comics. We're good. You do your last one and we're good, because they might've been really generous about it. But I do not believe that they said we can just stay in each other's lanes. I don't think that's true. That is a sugarcoating of whatever actually happened, because Eric can't talk about it. It's probably stuff that he can't talk about. But if you can't talk about it, why do you keep bringing it up? Why? You're talking about this. You're bringing this up. You went off on this tangent.
And then the reason why that's able to happen is because, well, I have a team of competent lawyers that know what they're doing. And
that was a weird pause. It was like he was trying to think. It's like, so when he was talking about the lawyer stuff, I thought like, this is when like a kid learns about something for the first time and they want to tell everybody about it. Like adults and stuff, they want to go out and tell them they know something. Like if they learn how to tie their shoe, they want to go explain how to tie your shoe to everybody, even people that know already. It's like he found out that lawyers don't all do the same thing, so he wanted to explain it to all of us. Like he wanted to tell the class, "Hey class, here's what different lawyers do." It's funny that little pause though. Let's go back and watch that. That was interesting.
We just promised to stay in each other's lanes. And then the reason why that's able to happen is because, well, I have a team of competent lawyers that know what they're doing, and it's very important. Reason I bring that up is because it's not about necessarily being on the defense. It's about CYA, and that stands for those that don't know what that means, cover your ass.
Okay, so this all ties back to the stuff he was saying about Riley when he wasn't talking about Riley, apparently, and telling people that the advice that he has, the advice that is not ill-advised, is if you're doing illegal stuff, don't film it, and do not post about it on social media. So that means covering your ass, which tells me that Eric here is not saying that he didn't do something that he wasn't supposed to do. He was saying that he covered his ass, that he made sure that whatever it was he was doing wasn't filmed or posted online or whatever. He made sure to cover his ass. That's a really interesting way to weave all of that together. The way my brain works is I pick up on stuff like that. I've always been really good about sort of picking out what's actually being said, like reading between the lines of what people are saying. And I get the impression here that all of that was sort of like just telling on himself, basically. Don't do things illegal. Well, no, he didn't say that. If you're going to do things illegal, don't film it and don't post it online. And the reason why I didn't get in trouble with my lawsuit is because I covered my ass. Why would those two things go together? Why would those two things think about that? Why would those two stories run parallel in Eric's head? Why? What's the reason for that? I'm not making accusations. I'm just asking questions.
So problems, should they arrive, you're able to deal with the situation accordingly. But yeah, would not advise that you get out there and cover yourself doing foolish things, because I'm telling you right now.
So he's still not saying don't do it. He's saying don't film it. Don't record it. Don't broadcast it. He's still just tell people not to do it. Don't do that shit. I'm telling you, don't do illegal shit. Don't do it. Filming or not, don't do it.
When you're, and I've been there, right? I'm not saying as things as of recently, right? Because it's been a while since I've been physically like in a court house. But I can tell you what does not work. Saying that the internet told me otherwise. That's not a proper defense.
Again, are you saying that you did something and you were caught for it? It's so confusing because, again, he talks sideways about everything. So you went to court and you tried to use that as an excuse and it didn't work? That's what you're saying you did? Okay.
And it's sad that I have to say that, but they don't care. The real world does not accommodate you in that regard. So be wise in your actions and what you do on the internet, especially. Just life has a way, man.
Clip, and snip, snip.
All right. Thank you, Katie, for clipping that, because that was interesting. I have to say, it's odd to me. It reminds me of when he used to work in IT, and he made a video, it was a clip from, I guess, probably longer than a few years ago, where he's telling people to not put illegal stuff on their computers because they'll it'll be found. So don't do it. Not to he didn't say don't do it at all. He was like, if you do it, cover it up, basically. I will never understand using that as a defense for illegal stuff. Illegal stuff. I would tell people, if you're going to act dumb, and people will do dumb stuff, not illegal stuff, just dumb shit, maybe you don't want to film yourself doing dumb stuff, right? Because the internet is forever in regards to that. If you want to do something illegal, maybe don't do it at all. How about that? Maybe just don't do it at all. That's all Eric had to say. This is an interesting video. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching, spending your time with me. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I'm very curious if any of this resonates with you. And if it does, tell me about it. Hit subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. I'll see you in the next video.